Hi there! We can memorize chords in our favorite songs, but we can also try to understand them. In this series of videos, I will try to provide insight into why chords change the way they do, using music of the Beatles. This particular video is more of an introduction to terms and concepts. Yes, there'll be separate videos where I'll go through Beatles songs album by album, where I'll try to make sense of their chord progressions. Why the Beatles? Well, let's see. Whether you like their music or not, most people know most of their songs. Also, it wasn't the norm for the bands to write their own music. Elvis, for example, didn't. The Beatles, though, wrote music themselves, which set the expectations for future bands. An unexpected benefit here is that lack of formal music education allowed the Beatles to experiment and innovate with their chord changes, and not be bound by strict theoretical constraints. The Beatles also blended styles, popularized unconventional time signatures and chord progressions. They also used a wide variety of themes, not only simple love songs, but also introspective, philosophical, and even political themes. They also were among the first bands to use multi-track recording. They created the concept of a music video, advanced album artwork, made concept albums. Anyways, using the music of the Beatles will probably convince you that musical harmony can be applied to anything and not just classical music. I'll try to analyze all 205 of their songs. Only a few I'll exclude. This chart shows how many songs each of the Beatles albums contained and their release years. This organization is approximate, because lists of songs and dates depend on whether you use American or British tracking system, and because, at least in some cases, singles were treated separately from albums. So this is what we have. 205 Beatles songs distributed across 13 albums, issued from 1963 till 1970, most albums having 16 to 18 songs. About 12% of their songs are covers, shown in orange here. I will still go over them when doing the harmonic analysis because most listeners today closely associate those covers with the Beatles themselves. Interestingly, starting from Rubber Soul, somewhere in the middle of their journey, the Beatles included only original songs into their albums. What about kinds of chords used? Here's what we see, and those have been normalized for each album. Major, shown in blue, and minor, shown in orange, are most commonly used types of chords by the Beatles. If to use the notion that major chords are happy and minor chords are sad, Beatles were on the more optimistic side, right? Overall, we have 68% of major chords, 28% of minor chords. Green color represents 1% of augmented chords. Light blue color represents 2% of major seventh chords. And purple color represents 1% of diminished chords. This graph shows how many songs had a particular number of chords in them. And good news here is that if you're learning to play guitar, there's plenty of Beatles songs that only use 4 chords or less. On the right, you can see a list of songs that only have 2 or 3 chords in them. Now, the big question for the remainder of this video: is there any reason why some chords follow others? So here's the most common way to look at music: musical harmony. According to this framework, in every piece of music, we, or our ears rather, choose and set one of the chords as central, like C major, and see all other chords in relation to the central chord. If we want to communicate to others that the central chord is C major, we'll say that it's written in the key of C major. And if the key is too low or too high for a singer, we might want to shift all of the song's chords and notes a certain number of semitones up or down. And this act is called transposing a song. Here's Let It Be in the key of C major. And here is the same Let It Be, but in the key of E major. Sometimes the central chord changes during a song, temporarily or permanently. Such changes are called modulations. For example, Do You Want to Know a Secret starts in a minor key. You'll never know how much I really love you. But then the key changes to a major key. Listen, do you want to know a secret? Modulations are very common in Beatles songs, but since this concept is more advanced than basic chord changes, it's best to discuss modulations in a separate video. Here are the keys used in the Beatles songs. Unsurprisingly, keys that are mostly used are guitar-friendly. G, E, A. Note that songs in minor keys are relatively rare. Those are the ones that have a letter M written next to their key symbol. Now, just because the Beatles did a particular song in G doesn't mean that you have to. It might be too high or too low for your voice, so adjust accordingly. Did the Beatles write songs in major or minor keys? Songs that start with a major key are shown in blue. Songs that start in a minor key are shown in orange. Again, one can see that Beatles were more on the positive side in their songs. For comparison, Chopin had about half and half of major and minor, and Rachmaninoff wrote mostly in minor keys. What about modulations or key changes? Well, songs that change key at least once throughout the song are colored orange. Okay, back to theory. Let's discuss different ways to refer to chords in a song. The easiest is to label them with Roman numerals. Capitalized Roman numerals stand for major chords, and lowercase Roman numerals stand for minor chords. Whichever system we'll use in functional harmony will inherently contain some clues about a particular chord's connection to the main chord of the song. 5, or any other number, only has a meaning when 1 exists. And this 1, the main chord, is called tonic. It's our home base. The story of mostly any song is a series of departures from tonic, some developments, then building tensions, and coming back to our tonic, a resolution. All notes of the tonic are stable, particularly the first note, shown here in dark blue. Many Beatles songs start with a tonic chord, which gives us a set of expectations about the song from the very beginning. Although, as you can see, sometimes a tonic chord comes in only later. Songs where a tonic doesn't come right away are always interesting and intriguing. Our brains are trying to understand. So, where is the tonic chord here? Similarly, most songs finish with a tonic chord. Although some songs leave us feeling unresolved. You know I feel alright. You know I feel alright. Again, all notes of the tonic are stable, particularly the first note, shown in dark blue. A note 1 semitone down from the tonic note, shown in red here, is special. It's so close to the tonic. It so much wants to resolve into it. It's unstable. 3 chords that have that note are called dominant chords. 3, 5, and 7. The chord based on that most tense note, 7, happens to be diminished, and because of too much tension, it's rarely used in songs, 2 tenths. As a result, 5/7 is almost always used in place of 7 diminished. So this is tonic. This is the unstable note. Chords that have the next note in line, shown in orange here, note that it's not as bad to have that note, are called subdominant chords. 2, 4, and 6. They are usually chords of development, and in classical music they commonly precede chords of tension. So after a subdominant chord, it's typical to have a dominant chord and then resolve to our home base. In a major song, we're expecting to hear major chords, so 4 and 5 are those major chords. see that all other chords are minor. And we'll label 4 and 5 as S and D. In a way, they are representatives of their corresponding groups. 4 of the subdominant group, the development chords, and D of the dominant group, the tension group. You can see that indeed 1, 4, and 5 are used the most by far in Beatles music. To add variety to music, each one of tonic, subdominant, dominant that we've discussed has a lower substitute, a third down, and an upper substitute, a third up. For example, for a C major chord, a lower substitute is an A minor chord, and an upper substitute is an E minor chord. Both lower and upper substitutes end up sharing 2 out of 3 notes with their substituted chord. I will put a dot as a subscript for a lower substitute and a dot as a superscript for an upper substitute. This is not common notation, but I think that it illustrates the point well. Note how in the intro of It's Only Love there are only 2 chords, C and A minor, so it's using substitutes. It doesn't really develop a song, but rather just takes the time to reflect the days can be happy or the days can be sad before the actual song begins. Tonic substitutes have official names. E minor is called a mediant, more properly a diatonic mediant, and A minor is called a submediant, more properly a diatonic submediant. Alright, if you feel like it's a lot of new information, take a break. Otherwise, let's keep going. Now that we know what the common chords in a key are called, let's discuss the usual ways of how they change into one another. Let's discuss harmonic moves. The most common of them is a fourth up. Resolving a dominant into a tonic is the most recognizable pattern in music. Tension resolves. 5-to-1 move is so common it gained its own name, authentic cadence, and cadence just means a conclusion. From me to you, from me 5 to you 1. This move, fourth up, can sneak into all other sorts of chord progressions. Whenever we hear fourth up, our brain usually interprets it as a move in a good and resolving direction. Going fourth up from 1 results in 1 to 4. There's an element of departure, right? Because technically we depart from our tonic. And even though it's a departure, because it's a fourth up move, we hear this 1-4 as a development, as a positive move, not a tragedy. I'm the kind of guy who never used to cry. 4-5-1 is as common as it gets. Let's say we get to 4 from 1. So 1 to 4, that's our progression development. Then 5 introduces tension, and 5-1 is a fourth up move, resolves the tension into a tonic. 5, 1, 4, and 5. If 5 is missed in the chord sequence above, we get 4 directly coming back to 1. That's called a plagal cadence. It's as if we've started on our journey, our development, got to 4, but haven't gone too far, soon decided to come back, resolve, rather than continuing in 1-4-5 progression. So 4 to 1 is a plagal cadence. It's been a hard day's night. Another very popular cadence from our list of most common ones is 5 to 6. Here, 5 doesn't resolve into an expected 1, but instead goes into a lower substitute of 1. We also call it relative minor. That's from Let It Be. It could have been instead. Alright, I'll use all of these terms over and over again when going over particular songs of the Beatles in the future videos. Now, let's talk a bit about more advanced moves. Since 5-1 is a dominant resulting into tonic through a fourth up move, what chord would resolve into a dominant with the same fourth up move? The 2 chord, and then to 1. The function of this major 2 chord is a secondary dominant, and we use a symbol of DD. So a secondary dominant is typically followed by a dominant and then to a tonic. But as she's getting ready to go, a knock comes on the door. But as she's getting ready to go, that was a secondary dominant, then to dominant, a knock comes on the door, tonic. Let's now apply the same principle to the subdominant. Let's recall that a subdominant is a fourth up from the tonic. A transition from subdominant to tonic is easily recognizable, plagal cadence, if you recall. But what would be a subdominant to a subdominant? And a subdominant to a subdominant to a subdominant? Well, it comes to these chords. They are meant to descend through a plagal type cadences, tertiary subdominant to a secondary subdominant to a regular subdominant to a tonic. In Here Comes the Sun, that sequence of triple to double to ordinary subdominant to tonic comes in its entirety. Sun, 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 here it comes. Tertiary subdominant, secondary subdominant, regular subdominant to tonic. Recall that going major third up just brings us to the chord upper substitute. Similarly, going minor third down brings us to the chord lower substitute. Those are not really developments, but rather just substitutions. But what if we alter those thirds a bit? Such alterations will bring us outside of our major key and bring a new color to a song. Going a minor third up, and by the way, that could be done not just from tonic, but from any other note of the scale, has a rock feeling to it. It sounds daring. Roll up, flat third. One, and then flat third, this rocky feel. Going from 1, a major third down, brings us to a chromatic submediant, a flat 6 chord. It has a magical joy feel to it. How could I dance with another? See, that's the joy feel. When I saw her standing there. What about going a second up or down? Well, because it's so close in space to the original chord, we tend to think of such moves as not functional, but rather linear. And this means we step into the territory of linear progressions here, not harmonic progressions. Now, we will discuss linear progressions in greater detail later. Here we'll just introduce them. Treasure these few words till we're together. One way is to think here in terms of functional harmony. So 2 is a lower substitute of a subdominant. So this move is going from tonic to a lower subdominant substitute back to tonic, making it a plagal type move. But we can also, because they are so close in space, think of this as a linear progression up. And perhaps it would keep going. You'll see later that sometimes thinking in terms of linear progression helps and complements the functional type thinking. Day after day, alone on a hill, from 1 to 2, from 1 to 2. Going down a second in a key, so from 1 to a diminished 7, is a willing torture, not common at all. But we can also make that move just a bit larger. That will bring us to a major flat 7 chord, also called subtonic since it's a tone below the tonic. And that flat 7 chord is internally stable, not diminished, but it's not in the key. And this gives it a very special place in music, including in the Beatles songs. Now, flat 7 chord has a very specific sound. It sounds like a tonic chord that just took a step back for some reason. It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working. This is a flat 7th chord, right? As if we step down from our tonic to a subtonic. Working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night. I should be sleeping. Again, a flat 7th chord. Like a log. As if we're dialed back from our tonic to a subtonic, and then coming back to our tonic. I was alone, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would. This is flat 7th chord, right? As if we're dialed back from our tonic, and then we're continuing. Another road where maybe I could see another kind of mind. Flat 7th chord. Well, let's come back to functional changes one last time. Let's introduce modal shifts. This is when a major chord is immediately followed by its minor part, a major-minor switch, or vice versa. It's usually very recognizable to our ear and immediately brings a contrast between happiness and sadness, which is very useful if a song is trying to convey, for example, self-reflection. All my life, major, minor. See, this is a modal shift. Switches to a minor. If we are not contrasting a major chord with its minor version, but rather are just using a minor version of a chord where a major version is expected, or vice versa, then it's called a parallel key substitution. Parallel key substitution is a part of what is called borrowed chords, since we borrowed them out of the main key. We've already discussed flat 7th, flat 3rd, and flat 6th chords. They are borrowed from the parallel minor key. Use of borrowed chords is unusual, and yet the Beatles used them a lot, making their music more unique and recognizable. Now I list some more borrowed chords here that we haven't previously touched. A 4 minor chord, a minor subdominant, has a nostalgic and intimate feeling to it. She learns we are two. If I fell in love with you. Minor subdominant. The other day I saw you as I walked along the road. Minor subdominant. And when I saw him with you, I could feel my future fold. Minor subdominant. And then a minor dominant chord. Feels like going to another planet. Sheepdog, walking in the rain. So this is 1 going to minor 5. Like going to another planet. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to a minor dominant, a different planet. Strawberry fields. Isn't that a recognizable move? Alright, let's take a look at this chart. It represents 58% of all the chord progressions of the Beatles songs. See that we've mentioned most of them already. Here we have a 4-to-1 plagal cadence, 5-to-1 authentic cadence, 4-5-1 complete cadence. An unusual progression is 5-4-1, is deliberately reversing the order of a complete cadence. That's the famous rock and roll sequence. At this point, it's good to take a little break. See what we've done so far. We've introduced the names of all the chords in the key and out of key, that is borrowed chords. We've also discussed switches from major to minor and vice versa are modal shifts. That's a lot to take in. But if you're ready for more, keep watching. Let's talk about some ways that the Beatles used to increase or decrease stability of any given chord. A common stability enhancer is a pedal point. And what is it? Well, this is when the bass underneath a chord sequence is kept unchanged. See, I'm keeping the same bass. Day after day, alone on a hill, the man with the foolish grin is keeping perfectly still, and the bass keeps being A. The outside world, the chords in this metaphor, keep changing, but our inner world, the bass, is not. I've got a feeling deep inside, oh yeah, keeping the bass the same. I was alone, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would find there, keeping the bass the same. Another road where maybe I could see another kind of mind there. See? Now we also have tension enhancers. So taking a major chord and adding a minor seventh on top of it makes it way more tense. G becomes G7. And if G was our dominant and wanted to resolve into a tonic before, now a G7th chord really wants to resolve into a tonic chord. Well, shake it up, baby, now. 7th, 1. 7th, 1. Now in a different song, if tonic didn't mind progressing into a subdominant, a 7th tonic chord would really want to progress into a subdominant. For example, in Hey Jude, we have both situations described above. Hey Jude, that's tonic. Don't be afraid, dominant. Let's make it into a 7th. You were made to go out and get her. Coming back to tonic, subdominant. Back into tonic. Then you begin dominant 7th to make it better, and then look, tonic 7th. So we had our tonic, we made it into tonic 7th. Now it wants to resolve to subdominant way more than before. Of course, there's a certain style of music, blues, where the tension is more of a political statement, so to speak. Let's go against the normal C, the regular chords, and just make every chord a 7th chord. And so we get blues and rock and roll. My love, don't give me presents. Tonic 7th, subdominant 7th, tonic 7th. Subdominant 7th, subdominant 7th, subdominant 7th, subdominant 7th, tonic 7th, subdominant 7th, tonic 7th. Dominant 7th, dominant 7th, subdominant 7th, subdominant 7th, tonic 7th, subdominant 7th, tonic 7th. You get the point. Now this chart shows proportion of bluesy songs in the Beatles music. About 31% of all the Beatles songs have something bluesy to them. What is blues? Blues is a little more than just making every chord a 7th. Many blues songs feature a famous blues progression. 1, 4, 1, and then 5, 4, 1 is one of them. Now, in addition to having a flat 7th, it is also typical to have a flat 3rd, at least in the melody. Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music, any old way you choose it, that is flat 3rd. Now take a look at this list of songs. See for yourself if you can recognize the bluesy parts of these songs. We can also make a chord larger by making it augmented. This gives a sense of enigma magic. Augmented chords want to resolve through a familiar to us 4th up motion. I got lips that long to kiss you. Regular chord, augmented chord, resolving back into tonic. That's from me to you. Or we can squish a chord, raise the root note just a bit, and make it into a diminished chord. Diminished chords seek resolution into their closest neighbor. There were bells that swung on a hill that swung with the raised root note, making it into a diminished chord, which resolves into a closest neighbor, into 2. Alright, let's expand a little on the idea of linear chord progressions. In linear motions, we don't think in terms of how such and such chord relates to the tonic, but rather, how does a chord relate to its predecessor? Sometimes, well, actually quite commonly, a portion of a chord actually stays the same in a linear change, while its other part will be going linearly. And such moves can keep going through 3, 4, 5 chord changes. Those were the 4 bars. On top we have an A minor chord, but on the bottom we have a bass walk down. When we change only one note in a chord, like we've done in the previous 2 examples, these are typically called line clichés. We can change a note chromatically, semitone by semitone, or we can change it diatonically, go by notes of the scale, as we've done in the beginning at least, of While My Guitar Gently Weeps. We can change 2 notes of a chord during linear moves, or all 3 of them. If we change all of them, that's called planing. If I fell in love with you, would you promise to be true? Look at this planing in the beginning of If I Fell. All those moves above were descending moves, but we can also have some ascending moves, although those are a bit more rare. You can talk to me, you can talk to me. Listen to the ascending portion. Then the chord changes, but the ascending motion is still there. Pretty cool. What is cool about linear moves in general is that we are easily hooked by them. A good musician will often play chords in a song in such a way that the linear motion of one of the voices can be heard. Here's Let It Be chorus without that linear voicing. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And now with voicing, I'll be singing a back vocal that illustrates that. Let it be. Ooh, whisper words of wisdom. Ooh. One last trick, not linear or harmonic, but more of its own kind. Tonic, subdominant, 7, 3, 6, 2 diminished, 5, 1. It's not particularly clear what's going on. The first move is common, 1 to 4, but the rest seems a little obscure at a first glance. Until we arrange it in this way. See how there's a pattern here? The first segment of this pattern has the fourth up move. We love those. And then we copy paste these two chords but make them one tone lower. Then again, segment 3, and then again, segment 4. Does that make sense now? Whatever progression we have at first, we just copy paste, make lower higher, and then we continue copy pasting in the same direction. Those are called sequences. Sequences sound nice because our brains love predictability. You never give me your money. You only give me your funny papers. And in the middle of negotiation, you break down. Now once again, how do sequences work? Take any progression of 2 or 3 chords. For example, 1 and 5. Then copy paste it and make it go up or down. Let's, for our example, choose the down direction. 1, 5. Let's go down. Let's go down again. I know it's not the Beatles, but it's a good example of a descending sequence. Alright, hopefully this overview will help us before diving into actual Beatles songs. Now, all of these harmonic, linear progressions, sequences can be present within the same song, and it is useful to develop our ear to recognize them. You may have a question at this point. What is right? Describing a change in terms of functional harmony? Or in terms of linear moves? Or perhaps trying to see everything through the lenses of sequences or modes? How about this? It's all good. You can be right or wrong within one or the other framework, but there's no right or wrong as to one framework being more correct than another. We study them because knowledge gives us more perspectives, more angles at which we can look at a particular music piece, and can help us enjoy and appreciate music on a deeper level. With that, peace and love, as Ringo says. See you next time.